part of brain plasticity is learning new things. And people will retire, but they're not learning anything new. They're not struggling, because the struggle of learning something new is part of the things that keeps your brain, you know, alive and moving and making new connections.
Hey everyone, my name is Priscilla Piper, and welcome to the Decision to Dance podcast. Today's guest is Lynley Mackay, who is 63 years old and is a lawyer based in Sydney, Australia. This is a really great episode for anybody who is struggling to find a passion or find a hobby that they are wanting to do. This is also great for anybody who is afraid or scared of starting over or being a beginner to begin with. Lynley gives some great advice on how to handle this and how to approach this if this is a struggle for you. We also learn how Lynley got started in dance and how dance has brought value to Lynley's life over the years. I really can't wait for you all to listen to this episode today, so we will go ahead and get to it. I would like for you to take us back to the beginning of how and when you began dancing.
Oh, that's kind of an interesting one in a way. A couple of things happened. First of all, my father, who was like really, really fit and healthy, got hit by a truck, by a garbage truck, and he got spinal shock. And he used to do like 18 holes of golf a day. And he went from that, and he was a pilot in the Air Force, and like we traveled, and he was used to being like the boss kind of thing. And then he went to pretty much having to have his bum wiped, for him. Really, really humiliating. And that kind of really impacted me. And at the same time, I broke up with my partner, and I had some free time because he took my like he took the kids on a couple of nights a week, and I was just working. I was thinking, what am I going to do with my life? Like, I'm just going to go to work, go home, and sit by myself, eating and
Yeah.
watching TV. So
So
I
how old
thought,
were you at this point?
I was around like it took a while, but it was my late 40s, so I was about 47, 48.
Okay.
Yeah, and I thought, should I go to the gym? And I thought, it's so boring. And I thought, because my daughter was a dancer, and no matter what, it would always, like, it saved her through high school. It was like her alternate to everything. And I thought, why do these kids just love what they're doing? Like, no matter how miserable they were, they would go to dance. So I thought I'll give it a try. And I found Sydney Dance Company, which had adult classes, and I went along and tried them, and it took about 4 months where I was almost going to give up because I was so bad. It was just so terrible. But then one day the music, like the choreography was in my body, and the music and the sum of the two was just like so much more than just the two together. And I was just got that kind of wow, that kind of, oh my God. And I thought, this is it. This is what it's all about. And then I was completely addicted from then on.
Yeah, and you haven't stopped
Yeah.
since.
And I haven't stopped since. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. That's so cool. And I feel like, I'm so sorry that you went through that with your dad and everything. That's a lot to handle, but I feel like it just goes to show how dance can fill in like those gaps when you feel maybe empty sometimes or when things are feeling really hard. It can fill your cup back up. So I think that's so cool that you were able to find dance through a challenging time for you.
Yeah.
And I actually want to read you um, a copy of text that you had written for your Instagram post. This was back in 2020 that you had posted this, but it's in relation to you starting dance, and I would like to read it to you. So this was posted July 7th, 2020. You said, 10 years ago, I was an absolute beginner at dancing. One Monday night, I was at the studio wondering what class to do because I was so bad at dance, I couldn't even manage a beginner jazz class. It was suggested that I might like doing lyrical dance. The only one available was intermediate level. I have no idea what possessed me to try a class so far above my level, but one Monday night in June 2010, I did it. The music was Fields of Gold by Ava Cassidy. I stood at the back of the class. I bumbled around, barely able to do any of the moves. But even though I could barely dance a step, I was completely overwhelmed. It was beautiful, exponentially more beautiful than the sum of the gorgeous routine and the beautiful music together. I decided that day I would come to this class, hang in the back, and that I would learn how to do these routines. I knew it would take a long time, years in fact. One time I even broke my own toe standing on my own foot. So I spent many years up the back, then in the middle, and as my eyesight deteriorates, I have needed to move to the front. And 10 years later, I'm still learning, but I can do the routines, and I still love this class. Back in 2010, I realized that dance is magic. When you have a bad day and go to a dance class, the bad day disappears and becomes a good day. I had chills when I read that, and every time I read it back, I just feel emotional reading that. Does anything come to mind after hearing that back again?
Yeah, that is all absolutely true. And I still do that class. And actually, I told that teacher, she's amazing. Her name's Dale Pope. And I told her, I reminded her that it was 10 years. And she recreated that for me in 2020 for the class online, where we did online. So that was amazing. And you know what was really weird? She did a couple of the ones, the very early ones that I remembered and I couldn't do. And that choreography was still in my body. And because my body could do it, I could do the routine. Actually, my body remembered, my mind didn't. So that's like even more incredible.
I love that you were able to remind your teacher of that and to get the routine back again. That's so special, and to be able to do it 10 years later is like a celebration of you starting dance and continuing in dance and keeping that as part of your life. And that's such a beautiful song too. Um,
Yes.
you got into dance, and you didn't really feel like you knew what you were doing, but you just loved the beauty of what you were witnessing and experiencing and decided to keep returning. So, even as somebody who was maybe struggling to remember the choreography or felt like they weren't picking up everything right away, what made you decide to continue to show up knowing that you still had a lot to learn?
I think it was actually a hip hop class. Like I was, because I first started in hip hop because you don't have to turn on one leg in hip hop. You can just put one foot in front of the other and turn. So I didn't have to do pirouettes or anything. And because it was really basic, it was like I had a very good teacher, but it's quite an easy way to start dance. And that it was just that time when I got that kind of the choreography and I just felt what it felt like to have the choreography in your body. And I just thought, this is the best feeling ever. This is just amazing. And so I've been chasing that. And what's so great is that you do chase it, but it's not like a drug or something where you chase that and you never get it back again. You get it back time and time again. That kind of amazing feeling after a really beautiful class. And it's been days. I think it was one Monday when it was raining. I'd actually lost my work ID card. I'd had a really bad day at work. I was like totally miserable. It had been raining a lot. It was really difficult getting to the studio. And then I went, and it's, those intimate nights in the studio when it's like only the people who go to dance because it's raining and nobody really wants to go. And it was just beautiful. And like my day was better, and everything just went out. And I opened up the boot, and my ID card was sitting there.
That's how it goes
Like,
sometimes.
that's why it's magic. Still gives me that, even, yeah,
Yeah, even now.
even now. Yeah. Yeah.
For anybody who is wanting to return to, or is wanting to start dancing, or is wanting to return to dance, and really admires the dancers in the room, admires the beauty of the dancing that they're witnessing and experiencing, but they're like, I just don't feel good enough to continue. I don't feel good enough to come back to this class. I just don't feel like there's any hope for me. What would you tell somebody who may be experiencing that?
I mean, for one thing, like my dad's epiphany, the thing that, well, you only have this time and it can be taken in a moment. Like in a moment, you can not be able to do this. So I feel like it's like you've got to grab it at whatever age you are, whatever, and I can never do, I mean, I still can't do half the choreography. And sometimes I look at videos and I'm just like, oh my God. But, if you just go to the back, and if I don't feel really confident, I will go to the back because often, and I will pick out a few good dances if I can't see the teacher and follow them, and just work on just the bits that I can do, like, if I can get a little push and if I can get a grab of stuff, and, just, yeah, and do it anyway. Because I feel like sometimes sometimes you think you're worse than what you actually are, and and sometimes I feel like I'm just not getting the class the whole time, or even like it's week two, I have to go back for week two, but then it just comes, and then it's just then you got that really great feeling. So yeah,
Yeah.
so I would say do it because you don't know when you can't do it. You won't be able to do it.
Yeah. Great perspective. And I feel like we all need to be reminded of that sometimes, and that it really is not about those immediate feelings we may be experiencing. It's really kind of about the whole picture, and that you need to take advantage of what's in front of you today. So let's do that no matter how you're feeling, because anything could change in the future. And that's reality for everybody.
Yeah.
And I love what you said about, even if you're not able to get all of it, to take the pieces you can get and enjoy those pieces, because that's still a win if you're getting pieces. And sometimes I feel like people think they need to get the entire choreography, the entire however many 8 counts they're taught, to feel like they achieve something in class. But really, depending on where you're at, if you're just getting the moments where you are able to take those in, then that's a win in itself.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel like, if you work, like, if it was available to you, the first time you tried it, it wouldn't have the value that it has, and the fact that you work hard towards it and that you make progress in small amounts. But I think, and like Galen Hook saying, like the kind eyes, that was really important. Like that's an important message, is don't look like you tend to you would look at somebody else's dancing it and say, oh, wow, that's really amazing. But you look at every single little error, every time you put your foot wrong, and you criticize yourself more. And so just looking at it overall as if it was another dancer, I think has really helped. And looking at it with kind of like enjoying the dance, like the kind eyes, I think is really, really
Mm-hmm.
important.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely. I feel like, and that's a phrase that Galen Hooks has taught us. And I'm so also very thankful for that perspective as well, because we can be so hard on ourselves as dancers. But if we're able to remind ourselves to be kind to ourselves, then it can make the experience so much better. And I like what you said about finding the value in what you're doing. And if it was easy to begin with, then that doesn't provide as much value and challenge. And how lucky are we to be put in a position where we're able to work harder and better ourselves and start somewhere and have the ability to keep going. So on that note, I feel like you have such an interest in like everything. You've done jazz, lyrical, hip hop, acro. You've also done like trapeze, juggling, roller skating. So I feel like you're not afraid of starting something new, and you're not afraid of being a beginner. Would you say that's true?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
What makes you so willing to just go for it and not even care how it looks or feels?
Um, I don't really know other than that it's so much fun. Like, and I feel like I'm on a crusade to like I think probably America is similar, but like in Australia, people are so ageist against themselves. Like so many people say to me, "Oh, I couldn't start. I'm too old to start this, and I'm too old to
Mhm.
start that." I
Yeah.
mean, I started circus in my mid 50s, like you know,
Yeah.
and like I just think, yeah, and I have two arms and legs. I can do it, and so I'm sort of, but I do get a little bit, people look at you and sort of think, are you the teacher? I'm like, no, I'm the beginner. Yeah, it's like, I don't
Yeah.
know anything. And I don't know, people are so self-defeating. And I remember watching, there was a TV, it was a thing about four women and it was called Fabulous Fashionistas. And there were four older women and they just kind of like, they just did things like one went to work in a retail store, even though she was like in her 70s and she like in Gap. So she was like really, she was like quite fashiony. And the one, and you didn't know their ages until like partway through. And the one that everyone was so shocked about that looked one of the youngest was the dancer, and she was in her 90s and she was still dancing.
Wow.
And you would have thought she was one of the youngest, and there was one in her like early 70s, late 70s, 80s, and this one in her 90s. And I just thought, yeah, it keeps you young. So for me, I think also starting all these things and doing all these things that are so much fun, like keeps you young. Yeah. And I don't do anything to to like my face or anything to make myself look young. I just go and do dance class, circus.
That's a great point too of it keeping your like brain working. I feel like that's such a great way to challenge your brain because there's so much going on in your head when you're dancing. It's not just physical, it's mental as well.
Yes.
And that's such a great point of like how important that is to have that in your life no matter what age you're at, and that no matter what age you're at you can do anything that you want and it's okay to be a beginner. And it's definitely very much true in the US as well. People don't feel like they can do things because of their age, and it's just so untrue. It's just a choice. You decide if you want to do something or not. It's not due to age.
It's very self-defeating, isn't it? It's so
Yeah.
self-defeating.
For anybody, I feel like I also know people my own age in their 20s and their 30s who struggle with being a beginner as well, in anything that they may think of. So, for anybody who may be struggling with that idea, what would you tell them?
You're not always a beginner for a start, like for one thing, is that yes, you're a beginner, but you just keep going and you won't be, you'll be at the front of the class and then, you know, and then you'll have more strings to your bow because you've got like whatever you're good at that you've been working your life on, but you're getting new things. And I just again, I think it keeps you young. I think being a beginner keeps you younger. It keeps you, yeah, mentally agile. It keeps your brain making new connections, and and I've like like part of like brain plasticity is learning new things,
Mhm.
and people will retire and they might be quite fit and healthy. They might be going to golf, they might be going and playing tennis and things, but they're not learning anything new. They're not struggling because the struggle of learning something new is part of the things that keeps your brain, you know, alive and moving and making new connections. So I think it's really vitally important. I have this tap teacher, she's similar age to me, and she goes, dementia prevention, do this.
Yeah.
So, and I think it is. So I think you have to do new things. Yeah.
Yeah, what a great way to look at that. Like, no matter what age you're at, it should be a requirement for all of us to do
Yes.
new things. Because you have so many hobbies and so many interests, I feel like there's so many people who are like, I don't know what I'm passionate about. I don't know, like, I need a hobby, but I don't really know what to do. I don't know where to start. They go to work and like they want something to fill them up, but they're not really sure what to do. So for anybody that is struggling to find a hobby or something that they're passionate about, what would you tell them?
I would say try things. And look, I knew within the first 6 months that dance was my thing. And, and it's a shame. I should have done it years and years ago, but that wasn't the lifestyle I had. I didn't have that available to me. Like I traveled, I was a military kid. I didn't get those kind of opportunities. But, and then everything else I've tried links to dance. So I do like flow and trapeze, like and do routines. And, in the roller skating, we did like pole, but it was dance. So
Mhm.
yeah, I can put dance into everything.
Mhm.
But I think you kind of know it when you find it. And look, it might be something like tennis, it might be something else, but you do kind of know it. And then you just do everything else that kind of is an offshoot of that thing. But I know that I will always come back to dance.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really cool how when you start one thing like dance, then you start adding to it, and how doing that one thing sparked your interest, and it made you probably see what else was out there and what else was available to you to learn more about, and you saw that and then later took advantage of those opportunities as well.
Yeah.
So I feel like you do have currently access to in-person classes and trainings. For anybody who does not have access to that in-person classes, what would you tell them, especially for anybody who thinks that's the only way that they can dance and learn? What what advice would you give them for anyone that may be struggling with that and they don't have the access to in-person options?
Yeah. I still love doing some online stuff. Like I got to say, it's not as easy to do. I got to mainly because now we're also busy and we're back doing everything again. But I still really enjoy doing my online stuff. So I would say do something like Gallon Hooks, beginner sort of stuff, or go on to Steezy or one of those yeah, ones where have them. You have they're on demand and they're available, and go through some of those, like go through and do them like heaps of like do it 2 or 3 times because you're not going to get it first time. So with some of the Gallon Hooks, like remembering choreography type ones, is just like go through them and go through them a few times. And like, I don't know how many times I've done River, but I just keep doing it because I love it. But you just get better and better each time you do it and becomes like a friend because
Yeah.
you kind of know what's coming next even, but you just keep doing it. But those kind of things are really important, as well as I would say, um, because I have a friend who wants to start, and I said, try doing those in your own private self because nobody's judging you then. Nobody's looking at you. You're not in class. It doesn't make any difference. So you can stop, start as you like, and you don't have to turn the camera on. But it's a good idea also then to maybe do something online, and there are still online classes, like Steps in New York still does online classes, and do something like that. And if you don't want to turn your camera on, don't turn your camera on. But you can turn your camera on if you want to. But there's and do some real time a little bit as well, because it does yeah, it kind of inspires you a little bit, and it's a little bit more interactive. So that's how I would start. But like I've thought about moving away from here and moving out to, somewhere rural, and what would I do? And I would do that.
Mhm.
Yeah. But there's like still heaps of stuff available on demand. Yeah.
Mhm. Absolutely, for
Yeah.
sure. So as far as like GHM on-demand classes go, what all have you taken on there? Is it mainly the choreography classes?
I've done some of the routine classes that I love. Yeah, like River, Bad Guy, which I'm still halfway through that one, even because it's like some of that footwork is crazy busy. Yeah,
Mhm.
but yeah, I've got my costume and everything.
I love it. Do you have like the hat and the
Yes,
bandana?
Yeah, the bandana is really hard to get the right one because it gets too hot and falls down. But yeah,
Gotcha.
it falls off. But I'm working on it because I want to try and get a video at one point. So
Oh,
it's like a work,
yeah. I'd
slow
love
work
to
in
see
progress.
that.
Yeah, don't hold your breath. It's going to be a while. But like you have those little projects. Yeah.
Cool. So you've mainly done the choreography classes
Um,
on demand.
I mostly do the choreography. Some ones I sometimes do like how to retain because I've got that. And I also of course I've done heaps of that where during the pandemic I've done the online intensives, which
Yeah.
the first time I did that I was just like, wow, because it absolutely blew me away.
I'm so glad we were able to experience the online ones when we did. But in addition to that, I'm so glad that she is able to offer online on-demand classes now so that anybody can take them at whatever time they want, wherever they want, and they can review the classes as many times as they want, which I think is very cool. And love that you utilize those resources because it is tough, I think, to do online classes. It's not always easy, and sometimes it's easier to be in person when you have more space and different things like that. But it does go to show that there are options and that you have choices. And it may not be the preference, but it doesn't mean you can't still do it and get something out of it.
Yeah,
So I love that you've been able to utilize that and continue to sharpen your skills, even if it's with the same routine. And I also enjoy the GHM on demand classes as well. I've only done one of the choreography classes, but I've done some of the how to retain choreography classes as well. Actually, can we talk about that a little bit? So, I believe you also did them when they were live online as well.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
can we talk about how taking those classes made an impact on you?
Yeah, I think there's like the one for me. I think there's really one that speaks to you the most, and the one that for me is the temp poles. Like, I just find that one really, yeah, really, I find it really helpful. So, and now in any choreography, whenever I'm struggling with choreography, I think of my temp poles, and I think with the on demand as well, so you can just like if you have a bit of time and you get it up, you can just play like 10 minutes of it. You don't even have to do the whole class, so you can do little bits, which is helpful. Um, and progress through. I think if you go through that, like going through those how to retain choreography ones and pick the one I think that works for you, and then just build on that one because
Mm,
there's quite a few, and I feel like using all of them, I sort of it diffuses a bit. So I think they're there to select the one. Yeah,
hmm.
which one works for you? Which one do you like?
Ooh, good question. I don't know if this is the one that works for me the most necessarily, but the one that I love the most is the clean as you go one because I was so bad at being clean and I just was not like physically aware of how messy I was. It was like if I wasn't in a jazz class or a ballet class where I knew exactly where my body needed to be placed. If I was in anything aside from that, like a contemporary or jazz funk class, anything like that, my body was just not doing what it needed to be doing. And so taking that class has made me so much more clean. And it's cool to do it as you're learning it too.
Yeah,
So I am a fan of that one for sure.
maybe I should do that one a bit more because that one, I feel like that's kind of next level to just remembering the choreography. I mean, I think the cleaner you are, the better you remember. But yeah, I think maybe I should do that. So
I
because
recommend it. Yeah,
yeah,
I feel like once you do it, you realize like, oh, I have the capability of being clean. Because I think I just used to be like, oh, I'm just messy, and I don't know why. That's how I am. But then I realized like, oh, it's just a conscious thing. It's just something that you need to be aware of. And when you gain that awareness, then you're able to execute the choreography in the way that it's supposed to be executed. And the more you practice it, the better you get at it. So I think it would be great for anybody of all levels. And once you have that knowledge and awareness, then it just gets better over time. So speaking of things that have been helpful, resources that have been helpful, you talked about how taking yoga classes has been helpful for you, I think just as an individual, but also as a dancer. Can you talk a little bit about the resource that you talked about in terms of the online yoga classes?
Yeah. And yeah, I was told by a dance teacher years ago that I should do, he had a really bad injury and was told he would never dance again. And he did yoga and he is full on dancing, and a dance teacher. He's like a contemporary teacher. And he said, you just need to do yoga. And I did a yoga class. I'd never done yoga before. I did this yoga class at some random yoga studio and I was so bored. And it's really awful. But my friend Vanessa, she's like she's a dancer. She's like huge, really good dancer. I think she came second in So You Think You Can Dance, the original in Australia. So she's really, really good. And she's always loved yoga. She's incredibly flexible. And she moved up near me and started up a yoga, like started doing, teaching yoga. And I went along as her friend. I didn't expect to enjoy it, but I thought, I'll go along and just help her out. And because she's a dancer, I loved it. I'm just like, oh, this is fantastic. So any Pilates class or a yoga class or even just a class at the gym, if it's a dancer, it's always better for me, I think. I enjoy
Mhm.
it more. It just has more flow. It feels better. It just goes better, and feels
Mhm.
nicer on your body. So I started going to hers. And what she said and what this teacher said is that, and what I've found is that for me to do the things that I want to do, like dancing and doing, trapeze and everything, I need to do yoga. They say like to floss your joints and everything. It just kind of keeps that overall all body movement, twists and all those kind of things. And I kind of stopped doing it a bit because I'm doing it mostly online. But and you say you slow down with it, is where I used to go, every week as a routine. And I really noticed the difference as I got more injuries. So I think as you get older, I think it's really important to do yoga and or Pilates or something like that, just to it's kind of like oiling everything, keeping everything oiled, ready for doing the things that you want to do. And her name is Vanessa Z Singh, or Be Radiant Yoga. It's also Vanessa Land. You can go to it, but
Okay.
Be Radiant Vanessa Land. And she has like several hundred online yoga
Wow.
classes and Pilates of all different levels, and she's a master at all of those. And yeah, so you can pick your body part, or you can pick what you want to do, or you can pick sort of time of day, like bedtime kind of one, or early morning. And then the props, you can choose all that, and you can choose sort of the time, and it will come up with an option. And yeah, they're really, really good. So I am trying it. I'm trying to pick it up more because I got all these injuries after we went back after COVID because I didn't do enough yoga. And so I'm trying to keep up at least a couple of classes now a week.
That's really good to hear because I feel like as dancers, especially for those of us who are not in our young teenage years, I guess, I feel like you're kind of on your own when you're dancing. It's like, okay, what do I do here? Like, how do I get better? How do I maintain this if I want to have longevity and do this forever? What do I need to do for my body? And you kind of don't know where to start. And so it is so important to be able to take care of your body outside of dance class. And I think some of us, I think I definitely didn't realize how much I needed to be doing outside of dance class to take care of my body, to gain flexibility, gain muscle, gain strength. And that led to me having an injury. So I think it's so important to have those conversations of finding what works for you. Is it yoga? Is it Pilates? Is it something else? Where you can take the time to strengthen and take care of your body so that you can get the most out of dance and to be able to do that as long as possible.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, as you were talking, I was like, because I know you wrote down something that you enjoy is that you like to hang out with your adult children. Do they think you're just the coolest mom ever?
I sometimes, and I think they sometimes just think I'm just a weirdo. It's like pretty hard when I'm saying to my adult children, "Come and watch me at my show."
Yeah.
But so they sometimes come, but I go to their shows too. So
Yeah. I love that. Well, because when I think of you, I think you're just so cool. Then I was like, I wonder like if your kids are always like, "You're just so cool, mom."
sometimes not at all.
Gotcha. Do you have any favorite circus skills that you do?
Um, I like static trapeze, and
Okay.
I just got a new one made because the guy who makes really good trapezes here is kind of semi-retiring. So I got one with like a quarterlies robe, which is like a really pretty color, but it's really soft.
Uh-huh.
So I like doing kind of twisty stuff in the rope. So that one doesn't hurt as much because I tell you, twisting a rope around your body really hurts.
Yeah. Gotcha. So what makes you love the trapeze so much?
Again, like, well, it's quite dancey. Like,
Yeah.
you can, and it just, yeah, I can just do like routine sort of stuff on it, but also it just looks beautiful. And it's like, I like the fact that you have rope and bars. So you have some stuff that you can twist around and also, but you have a hard surface as well. So I just like that mix.
Yeah. Do you ever get afraid? Like, I'm guessing you don't have like you aren't afraid of heights if you're doing something like that. Or maybe you aren't that high off the ground. I'm not sure.
You're not that high off the ground until you get used to it. I am terrified of heights, but not, it's kind of weird. Is it when I'm in the studio, and I don't know whether it's perspective, when you go at height, I'm terrified. Like it's like really freaks me out. It seems like such a long way to the ground. But you would never do anything at height that you can't do 100 times perfectly at a low
Mm-hmm.
level.
Yeah.
And but then I went and did a performance for Relay for Life, which is like a cancer kind of thing that we have here in Australia. It was outside, and I hadn't really I practiced, but I had never practiced. I hadn't practiced at height. I just had a routine. It was kind of simple, but it was nice. And rocked up and thought, oh well, it's outside. I've got to do it at height. But then when I realized that outside, the perspective changed, and I just felt like that part of the atmosphere that was mine because I was the only person in it. And I'm just like, yeah, this is my space, and it just felt really beautiful. And the sun was out, and the sky was blue, and I just had that whole section of the atmosphere to myself because everybody else was down there. Yeah, height is relative.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but
Cool.
yes, I do. I've been so scared, and then I had to sit high up for ages and ages and ages just so I got bored with myself for being scared and sort of like
Mm-hmm.
loosened up my grip because you hold on really tight and everything's really stiff. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah.
That's cool though. I mean, you're facing your fears a little bit, but also good to know that of course, like start, at the beginner level and work your way up to a place where you are comfortable gaining that height. And I think it's so beautiful. Anytime I see your pictures that you post when you're on the trapeze, it just seems like you're so happy and just like living your best life. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she looks like she's just having like the best day ever.
It is really, really fun.
I love
Yeah.
that you enjoy that. It's such like a unique skill set to have. So I think that's so cool. Now, looking back at your life, thinking about getting into dance, everything that you've done, and do you still practice law?
Yeah, yes, I do.
You do.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm a lawyer. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Cool. Okay. So oh my gosh, you're doing that and you're taking all these classes too?
Yeah, I work full time. I don't work, I do volunteer work a couple of times a month, like actually being a lawyer. I work, like I use my qualification because I now currently work in government. I work for, I actually work for, in Australia, there's like Aboriginal land rights. There's an Aboriginal Land Rights Act, for Indigenous people getting land back, and I work in the registrar of that. So, yeah, helping Aboriginal people get their land back and apply for it and get it back. So
Wow.
that's kind of it's a really because I worked in jails and with crime for ages and ages, 30 years, and it's really different working in land law, but I'm really enjoying the difference.
Mhm.
And but I still go and work with like yeah offenders and people a couple
Gotcha.
of times in we have community legal centres which are staffed by lawyers on a volunteer basis in Australia, and people who don't have the money to pay for a lawyer can come and get free legal advice, and they don't always get representation, but they get assisted on how they can, or if they actually do need representation. They here you can get free legal representation if you're at risk of going to jail. So sometimes we just need to advise them to go to legal aid to get that, or we just help them with their own, to do their own court cases, prepare their own court cases and what they need and what they need to say and so on, and help them with letters and submissions and so on. So I do that, um, yeah, as on a volunteer basis a couple of times a month, and yeah, so I'm still working full time and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow. That is a lot. And I mean, obviously, such a challenging job. And it's so cool to hear you describe your job. And obviously, you have heart to do what you do. And that takes a lot of work, of course, and time and so many other things as well. And to be able to do that on top of all of the dancing and all of the classes you take and everything that you do to better yourself and take care of yourself, I feel like is so admirable. And it's tough to be able to find the time sometimes when you are working full time, you're volunteering, you have family and all these other things going on, and to find the time to do the things that you love can be tough, but you're finding the time.
I think you have to though, because it's like some people go off and debrief, some people go and drink alcohol, and go to the go to the pub or whatever. If you go and dance, it's so much healthier way of just kind of debriefing and getting rid of the day. Just clearing the day from your mind and
Yeah.
just tuning in on your body. And it's such a I think it for me it keeps me mentally healthy
Yeah,
to do that.
totally. I remember when I returned to dance, so I was still working in social work at the time, and I would do my social work job, and every day after work I would go take dance class, and it was such a good way for me to relieve anything that I was experiencing or feeling, and it was such a nice way for me to reset and start my day again the next day
Yeah.
because that's heavy stuff. It's not easy to deal with and very emotionally draining, and so you really do need to fill your cup back up. And if you don't, then it's not going to go well and it's not going to be something that you can do long term. So I agree with that for sure. It's like a way to cope and to reset and to emotionally and physically release and to get ourselves straight so that we can do our jobs outside of dance and
Yeah.
to be the best type of people that we can be for those around us as well.
Yeah, so you work in a similar thing, and when you get people's trauma all over you, because that's what you are when you're working in that area,
Mhm.
you need to dance it off. Yeah, and I found sometimes like the more because I used to deal with really heavy trauma working in the jails, and people would tell their life story, and that was part of a program I did, and with those ones when I used to dance, sometimes I would struggle more with the choreography because there was so much more. But I felt like the more you dance, the more you actually took it off because it's not yours. It's not your trauma, but you are taking it on, and dancing actually
Mhm.
gets it away. It's not that you're
Mhm.
unsympathetic to that person, but it gets it off you where it doesn't belong because otherwise you take it in too much. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think it's really, really important. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It's like if you work in any type of setting that is really emotionally draining or where you are listening to other people's trauma and their challenging times, I feel like we all need to be prescribed dance to at the end of the day or at the end of the week or whatever it is to like reset and like you said kind of get everything out and be able to focus on ourselves and reset our mind and our bodies. So I couldn't agree more. When you look back at your life, do you think of like, oh, I'm so proud of myself for getting to where I am, or like does something come to mind when you reflect back on your life experiences?
Yeah. Um, I've never really rated myself, so I think that's a typical female thing that you don't get. You never rate yourself as being anything fantastic. I don't think men have that same problem. That you know, so I'm always really surprised when people go, "Wow," and when I because I did I had a master's in public health and I worked in the public health field. Then I got law, and and people going, "Wow, that's really amazing that you got admitted as a lawyer." I'm like, well, actually, I think it's better that I feel more proud that I got a handstand, but but so I think. But one thing is, and having moved around a lot as a military kid and not really know where I fit in, and sort of always being the outsider. One thing I always wanted, and I remember I wanted to be sort of at peace in my mind. I wanted to like I had be able to just kind of still my mind down. I guess also maybe being a bit ADHD, maybe a little bit running around. I had a lot of energy, and I just wanted that. I see people that had like a peaceful mind, and that's one thing that I think finally in my 60s, but no, it's through my 50s, it's true. And dance has like totally helped out, is that there is a point where I can just kind of like still my mind and I feel like I'm okay with where I'm at.
Hmm.
And that's taken a lifetime to achieve, but kind of not being down on myself as much, like just being, well, this is where I'm at, and that's okay. That's something I think I've finally managed to achieve. And it's taken a really, really long time. But dance has kind of like really helped that. Like dance has made me being able to focus and be able to do something I know I love, whether, I'm a professional major, Jackson dancer. No, but you know, I have sort of got to that point. So that's been a life achievement. It's not a great deal, but like for me, I think that's really, really important. Yeah.
I feel like that for many people, that's a hard place to get to, and some people don't ever get there. So for you to be able to say that and to say that with confidence, I feel like it is a great achievement, something to be proud of, and how cool that dance was able to play a part of that as well. I feel like dance really changes people for the better and brings more out of you than you ever could have expected. And I think that's so nice to get to that place where you can feel at peace and confident with where you're at in your life. And I'm glad that you are able to express that and to feel that, because that's such an important place to be. So the last thing I want to ask you is, so let's say you meet somebody in your work setting professionally, and you're getting to know somebody new, and they ask you, so what do you do for fun outside of work? And you say, oh, I love to dance. And they ask, oh, well, why do you dance? And when they ask you that question, what would you tell them?
Um, Pretty much in a word, it's my soul food. Yeah. Yeah, it's my church. So it gives me what I need. Lots of things give me joy, but it consistently gives me joy. Yeah, and yeah, my children give me joy. They're the most amazing people. I love them, but they're also them. So they give me joy in the fact that I'm really proud of them. But I can give myself joy by dance. Like I can have joy within my own heart, and that's kind of really important. And again, I think that's life, isn't it? They say dance is life. Well, that is life. Yeah, that gives you life. So
Hmm.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's a great answer. Thank you, Lindley, for taking the time to be on the Decision to Dance podcast. I really, of course, have enjoyed watching you grow and enjoy dance on the other side of the world, but through social media. And it's been so cool to be able to watch your journey and to have like a little tiny part in that as well. So thank you so much for taking the time to be on here. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to today's episode. We appreciate you all, as always, and we will see you all in the next episode.